All right, you guys, welcome. This is my first attempt to try and stream by myself. I'm hoping that I will be able to start a YouTube channel where I will be giving my commentary on different array of conversations of things that are happening in the world. I'm Nigerian, so a lot of the things that I'll be talking about will be my perception about the things that are happening in Nigeria, how it affects the youth, and how it continues to shape the way that the country is. I'm streaming on Twitch right now, I believe, and on YouTube and probably Facebook. Um, I've sup- I'm supposed to have done this a long time ago. I wasn't doing it, and the only reason for that, honestly, is because just the challenge of having to stream and then edit and all of those things was very overwhelming to me. So this is what I came up with. I'm just gonna stream directly into the spaces and then hopefully try and find someone who's going to help me go in there and probably edit them or something like that. But honestly, I got to tell you, uh, this is the reason I have not started to stream or do anything on social media for years because just the stress of having to edit and things like that can be very challenging. Uh, I'm a team of one, so I have my camera recording right here in front of me, but I also have my computer in front of me. So anytime I'm looking now, that's because I'm trying to, maybe share a video or something like that. Now, one of the things that I'm going to use as my test today that has been on my mind for a few days right now, because it's very topical on social media, is this idea of what is going on. Not an idea, is what is going on with P Square, Peter and Paul of P Square and the Senior Brother. I haven't really seen a lot about it, so I'm going to be giving my own, taking a look at it right now and showing you guys some of the videos that I've seen or that we will be looking at together and determining, what my thoughts about this is going to be. So I'm going to jump over to YouTube. I hope this sharing, the way I'm going to be sharing my screen, I hope it works. So let me just go up here. I think I have to click share and I have to share a window. Um, Actually, I think Chrome tab. Let me see. Let me go to Peter P Square and let me share. And let me see if that works. Okay. I don't know what that is. No, that's not what I want. Okay, this is what I'm sharing. So let me make it bigger. Okay.
Criticism online, with many describing the conduct as inappropriate and inconsistent with the standards that are expected of military personnel. Now, reports on social media claim the soldier has since been taken into custody and is expected to face disciplinary action. And of course, this incident continues to generate reactions online, with Nigerians now debating both the welfare of our military personnel and the standards expected of those within the armed forces. Let's have a look at social media. The Joseph Adebambo says, do we know that we can focus on both respect for the army and respect for this soldier? Yes, the soldier disrespected himself and the uniform, but did he need to go ballistic on him to correct him? Because while talking about disrespect, he himself showed disrespect. Rukayat Omot says, when someone in uniform says they're hungry, the priority should be finding the facts and fixing the problem. If the allegations are true, accountability should be fair, but so should addressing the welfare of those who serve. And finally, Prince Omega chimes in. He says, professional conduct is essential in the armed forces, but situations like this also remind us why conversations about service members' welfare should never be ignored. Now, team, here on the Trending Now segment, I've taken several stories pertaining to the welfare of.
Okay. So if you were just watching that, that was something else entirely, and this is why I'm trying to get accustomed with this. This was a story that I queued on about earlier, um, and it's not the P Square story. And I'm happy I'm making all of these mistakes so that when I hit 1 million to 2 million subscribers on YouTube, on Twitch, people can watch this very first video and see how I really fumbled, right? But this was a story that I was just watching about a military officer in Nigeria who was, on streaming, who was streaming on a platform and asking people for money, and somebody else who is also a very passionate Nigerian was very upset with him talking about the lack of respect for the uniform and him using the uniform to essentially beg people for money. Now, my views on this is actually very simple. And that view is that we as Nigerians need to be a little bit more empathetic and understand the plight of people within our communities. I used to be one of those people that was always very upset and angry at people when they're doing certain things. But it got to a point where I realized that it is everybody's doing things based on how they understand those things. For instance, the soldier in this case is probably wearing his uniform to beg people for money just to show that he has served his country or he continues to serve his country. I think that that was the reason he was wearing the uniform, right? Because if you really think about it, he could have come out and said he's somebody in the military forces and he is broke and he needs people to help him. But social media is all about how things look. So I felt like the optics needed to match was why he effectively wore his uniform and was on social media asking for some people to help him. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like that is how he thinks he's going to be able to incite the kind of pity or the kind of help that he's looking for. And that's what he did. For me, I feel like that those are the, cries of a desperate person, right? And you don't have to agree with me. From that perspective, I do understand. Secondly, I get the perspective of the guy that came on the stream also was, essentially yelling at him like he's disgracing the uniform and things like that. Um, that is coming from a perspective of someone who is a citizen of the nation and seeing it as a bad call. I mean, not just in terms of the person being the military forces of the Nigerian state, but he knows that that video is going to circulate, beyond Nigeria, and other people are going to see it. And essentially, it looks like a disgrace, to the nation, right? So I also understand that point of view as well. What I think is we always need to find a middle ground and, have empathy. I feel like empathy is going to help us a lot in Nigeria, right? Because we are very, very polarized. And I think one of the reasons why we're that polarized is because we see everything from perspective of good and bad, you know, God and the devil. We have these very polarized perspectives about life. And we're taking those things and we're putting it in just about every single thing that we do. And I feel like a little bit of empathy is going to be required for us to really be able to look at the issues that we have and actually face them and solve them, in an effective way, as opposed to us just judging each other and always ready to jump on everybody's neck and, be angry and things like that. So, like I said, a little bit more of empathy. We need to look at things a little bit more delicately. We need to understand what drives people to do some of the things that they're doing. Because the moment we start to understand these challenges, then we're able to profile solutions to them, as opposed to, essentially just being angry. Because I've noticed that doesn't get us anywhere really, because there's just a lot of people who are going to express their anger for all kinds of things, but um, no solution comes from that is what I found, quite frankly. So that's just my thought about that. I'm sorry I cued in something. I talked about something else and then I cued in something else. But like I said, I'm gonna get better at this. I'm gonna do better at preparing and maybe put together a show. I'm gonna try and get maybe a secondary person to help me produce while I'm doing this. But this is unscripted. My name is a God, and let us see how this goes. All right. Thank you guys very much. Bye.